of Deb Ward. And also, if the commissioners are interested in having some feedback from Ms. Ward, we could always ask her to come in at some time during the year and provide an update along maybe with the CELCO executive director.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah, I would like that. Do we get their schedule on our calendar, their meeting schedule?
I don't think we post it, but I could figure it out, and we could see if we could add it to our information.
Or if you just let me know, this is Commissioner Meyer, I would be interested in attending.
Yeah, I would like to attend also.
Okay, we probably wouldn't put it necessarily on our calendar because it's not an appointment by one of the commissioners, but we can certainly get you that information, get you on their mailing list and their email distribution list.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would have one question. I see that she, under work experience, was Director of Development at Wiscor, Inc. So one of our requirements for all of our committees is that they are Winona County residents. And so I'm just verifying that she's a Winona County resident.
That's a good question. I would have to go back and look at the application.
But the address, her address wasn't included in her application.
Yeah, so we could check that.
Yeah, I mean, I think she used to work for the public school system in a capacity advocating for deaf and hard of hearing, but I don't know her personally, but I know of her.
Yeah, she worked for Hiawatha. She worked for Winona County Public Schools. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that she's a Winona resident, but maybe we could make the approval contingent upon that verification.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I definitely would like some type of report or something. I don't know this person. I don't know if we're related or anything, not to my knowledge.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pointing at my sister or anything. I don't know who this person is.
Your twin separated at birth.
Yeah, could be. I've been told I have a twin. But we do give the library a lot of money. So I guess I would like a report as to what even this person is advocating for. What's the status of the library system and everything. So yeah, if we can get her to give us a report, I guess. What do we want a motion of approval with pending the requirement of citizenship in Winona County, or residency, I should say, residency in Winona County?
Right.
Yep.
I'll make that a motion.
A second.
Okay,
Commissioner Kavesi.
Okay, Commissioner Jacob, seconded by Commissioner Kavesi, to reappoint Ms. Ward to the CELCO Board of Directors, dependent on the requirement of residency in Winona County. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Kavesi?
Commissioner Kavesi votes aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Meyer votes aye.
Olson?
Commissioner Olson votes aye.
Commissioner Jacob?
Jacob, I approve.
And Ward, I approve. Okay, thank you. Now we have we still have vacancies that we advocate for. Health and Human Service Advisory, there is one vacancy, and the Personal Board of Appeals, there is one vacancy. So we will continue to advocate for that. I believe maybe Extension still has a vacancy. I may be wrong there. We could double check with that. That's the only other one that I think might have a vacancy. All right, moving on to 7.2, receive updates on delaying payment to Minnesota Department of Human Services. Mr. Fritz, or is Karen Sanis?
Yeah, I gotta see if Karen's here or not.
I'm here. I'm just trying to unmute. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We had so let's say the state of Minnesota has gotten really creative with their billing process, and so one of the SUD IMD bills portion of the back paid or the stuff that we were being billed for the past 5 years did sneak through. We apologize for that. Pat and I have thought we had it in place and things were going to be okay, and one of them snuck through. The bills are really hard to read, so we apologize for that. But we now have a new process in place. The second bill that they sent through, we were onto them and we caught it right away, and so that those back payments are not now being paid. So we apologize for that.
Hey, Karen, it might be a good time to just give a little update, if it's okay with the board, on what you've been working on in terms of waivers and the legislative actions, because there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. So while COVID has been going on, there's been, I believe we've done like 35 different policy changes within, a very short period of time through Health and Human Services. And so I've just been working on with MAXA on our legislative issues. And so one of the issues that has been brought to our attention is that some of these waivers would be very beneficial, that have been very, very beneficial during COVID, would be very beneficial post peacetime emergency. And so we're working really hard on prioritizing which ones we want to keep, and some that we could modify. So we could be able to do a portion of what we have been doing during the peacetime emergency. And so there's a lot of stuff. I've been sending Ken a lot of stuff that Max is working on, and Health and Human Services that has been working on, and to keep him up to date, because I know there's a conjoined effort between MAXA and AMC going forward with some of these waivers. And so we've been working really hard to assure that we have communication on our local level to make sure that we're gonna get some of these passed. I updated yesterday on some of what we felt priorities should be for Winona County. Do you want me to share some of those with you? Okay.
I would love that, and even if not verbally, via email, but I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I was going to send out, Karen, just so they know, I was going to send out that chart from Olmsted to the county board, because I had talked to Chris Meyer or Commissioner Meyer earlier about some of the waivers that we'd like to keep in place, and I also want to send that out to the full board because it's a very nice explanation, kind of puts everything in one place and explains it in English.
Yeah.
So I think I can accomplish that. Okay. Also for the board, the House yesterday discussed the distribution of the CARES Act money. The CARES Act money was money that early on that the federal government gave to the state for the state, but also for local governments. It had an earmark in there for Ramsey and Hennepin County of, I think one was 122 million and the other was 90-some million. And there was a remaining $667 million that could be distributed to counties and cities for COVID-related expenses. So the House was discussing that yesterday. There's various formula ideas and so forth, but we've been working with Micah closely, and of course AMC, and then our legislators in terms of how that money might be distributed, because obviously that's a lot of money, and any costs we have would then we could apply against it, and we are tracking those costs.
Oh, and also I wanted to update you too, with the IMD SUD back payments that the state is requesting for us. There is a large Health and Human Services omnibus bill out there. I have a hard time with those tongue twisters out there that is included to be able to not have counties have to pay this back. There's a lot of discussion as to where it should come from, and some are pushing to have it taken out of DHS's budget, and then some are pushing to have it taken out of the reserves, which there maybe isn't so much reserve anymore. So we're really, that has kind of been the sticking point with all of this, but there is consensus that the county should not have to pay this back due to the accounting errors at DHS. So. Any other questions for me?
Okay. Any other info that we should be aware of?
Oh, I could go on and on and on. I guess I can share with you that we're now preparing to do our all contact tracing for positive COVID cases at the local level. We are in the process of developing that here. We have 3 Winona County nurses that have stepped up to volunteer to be our trainers for that contact tracing. And so we're onboarding them with the training right now. And then they will become our local trainers. And then, so they're going to start doing, they're fully trained now. They're going to start doing some contact tracing once we get a few more positive cases. And then we're going to kind of regroup and kind of set up a process. We have some really, again, I just get overwhelmed by this community and the willingness to help out. We right away had 2 individuals step up to the plate that are Spanish speaking, have medical backgrounds, that are volunteering their time to be able to do contact tracing if there's an outbreak in our Spanish communities. So it's just, this community just always leaves me in awe when there's something going on that, people just step up to the plate and volunteer. So it's a great experience. And so we're just really, really thankful. And we also have others, even internal staff that are, willing to step up, or, like Tracy Finnerty, who is one of our CADDY social workers in our disability services unit. We have other social workers willing to step up to the plate to take on some of her caseload to free up some of her time so she could do more contact tracing. So, it's just a really great group effort throughout Winona County and then the community. So just really happy to see all that. But they're preparing us to gear up for a pretty big surge here, is what they continue to tell us. So
I was going to say this at the end, but I just want to say thank you to you and your staff, and for coordinating with our first responders. And I know you guys are putting in a lot of long hours, and it's on a lot of topics, all kinds of stuff going on at the state, but then also going on locally. I don't, if the rest of you, so I know that I've seen Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Kovesi, but there's a Wednesday night emergency management meeting, and violating the stay at home, not the mask in public, it's a misdemeanor, right? To violate certain things. And so that would be a city issue if it's inside the city, or it's a county issue and it's the sheriff's department if not. And I know that you guys have been involved in terms of educating maybe some of the businesses in the far corners and more rural places to make sure that they're following the safety protocols. So I know that's a lot of work, and thank you for all of that.
I will extend that to my staff and to
Thanks.
emergency. You're welcome.
Karen, a question. Some places are talking about having to add a lot of additional staff to do this tracing. What are you hearing about that? Is that going to be a state function, or you kind of alluded maybe it's going to be a local function?
They want all the contact tracing to take place in the county where the cases are. So if they're positive Winona County cases, they want Winona County to be doing the contact tracing.
Our staff is training the volunteers. So we're not adding staff necessarily at this point. We're training volunteers to do the contact tracing.
Okay, all right. Well, keep us.
I mean, I understood from my conversation with Sheila Cascaden over in Olmsted County that the state was really pretty slow in the beginning and they were overwhelmed. And so I heard on one of the recent updates, the 2 o'clock daily updates, that they were asking counties that had capacity to take this over. And not to, so I mean, I have heard rumors, everyone has heard rumors about the long-term care facility here in Winona, but I mean, I think a lot of what the governor is doing now with this strike force that can come out and do all of this testing, and I mean, like a whole lot more support for long-term care facilities because of what we've seen, which is exactly how it's been here.
Yes, and so yes, I like the plan that he has come up with. Unfortunately, we were one of the first ones with an infection in our nursing homes, and that was not set up. But now with what they've learned, unfortunately, they do have I think a solid plan. We have Violet Stefanoffo, I believe her name is, and then Ben Klinger and Jeff Peterson actually working on a survey for the long-term care
Awesome.
Great.
today, to be able to say what would this look like in Winona County. So they're working on that right now. And then some of the frustration that I'm hearing from my colleagues in other counties. We were on a call yesterday about contact tracing, and we've been having these conversations from probably the second weekend, where DHS has been saying we may be requesting counties do this. And instead of rolling it out immediately, they kept saying, well, no, we're going to keep it. And then they would, waver back and forth. No, we want counties to do it. And so they've lost a lot of time. And now it's like, hurry up and let's play catch up. So there's some frustration. I'm not criticizing my colleagues at MDH, but it's just been, we need somebody making some solid decisions and at the state, and just being able to tell us, instead of going to counties and saying, well, counties, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And it's just like, you need to make some decisions. You guys are the leaders here. You guys are the ones that supervise us and tell us what we need to do. So send out a survey.
Yeah, we offered to contact trace for them from the beginning. Yeah. And there was a lot of vacillation back and forth of, well, maybe not, and so finally I think we're on a good path. But yeah, we were out there asking, and they were trying to handle it.
So yeah.
I have a question. Are we also paying special attention to places like Windhaven, or even the group homes for HCO and some of our facilities?
Yeah, early on, Ben and I had a conversation. We had a conversation, Ben Klinger, and I had conversations with some of the people at the city and the managers of some of the senior apartment buildings, and sure that they were practicing some, everything that is being talked about. That is, we had talked also at that point about possibly using some emergency management funding to get the portable hand washing stations for the people that are in the building. Yeah. Ben couldn't find any, so he found some portable fish cleaning stations.
All right.
All right. Anything in a pinch, huh?
Yeah, to put outside the facilities so people can wash their hands. So when there's somebody that physical therapy appointment, people are washing their hands in. They're doing a pretty good job of cleaning and stuff. So go ahead.
Winona Health has also started to test the congregate living facilities, and even though these aren't specifically nursing homes, they've added them to the list to do testing in each of these facilities. So they started that about a week ago and are going to move through all of those locations in the city and the county. So
good, thank you.
I do know that my daughter works at Home and Community Options, so they had testing yesterday where they did blood tests and the swab tests. So they're looking for antibodies and current infection rates.
Thank you. That's a good update.
Yep.
Karen, a question's been asked. If you're offered these tests and everything, of course, if your employer is, but as an individual, and I see Winona Health had an ad in the Post or something. Are these being covered by insurance, or is this at your own personal expense?
I don't know.
I can answer that. At least to some degree. When you go to, because I actually went and had the test done just to see how the process works, and but I had the serology test, so it's just a blood test. It's not the nasal swabs, and so they do ask for your insurance coverage, and they will try to bill your insurance at this point. If there's, I don't know if maybe at some point the federal government will provide some reimbursement, or maybe it'll be completely paid by the insurance. I'm not sure. I know at the federal level they've indicated that it was supposed to be free, but I do know when you go to Winona Health they ask for your insurance card. I don't know what they do if you don't have an insurance card. I didn't run into that problem. So.
Okay. I mean, people are starting to ask because it seems to be that push. We need testing. Yeah. And I was surprised to see the ad like I say, it had to be the Winona Post. All right. Okay. Any other updates, Karen?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Greg Olson has his hand up, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg. I cannot see anything. I'm just doing this through my phone. I apologize. Go ahead, Greg Olson, Commissioner Olson. Commissioner Olson?
I made my point. That was just the bit about home and community options.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Karen or anything on the COVID? All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Moving on to 7.3, receive monthly finance and budget update for March 2020. Pat, are you with us?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to provide you the March update. Our beginning cash for March started in the general fund at 10.8. We had actual revenues of 456,000 and actual expenses 0.6 million. Ending cash was 9.6. For the year, it started out at 13.4 million. Actual revenues were 1.5 and actual expenses were 5.3. Ending cash was 9.6. The variance in the general fund was 3.8 compared to last year's negative 4.2. And the grand total is negative 6.1 compared to a negative 5.6. And I do show that community services at the present time is in a negative $1.8 million, and they are running about $500,000 more than last year. I looked at some of the reasons that some of these things were occurring. Some of them are the same that I said had February. We actually had an extra payroll early in February, early in January, so that's actually causing a dollar amount, and it's kind of working itself out until probably July when we have another extra payroll. There were extra payments in income maintenance of about 30,000 and timing issues from last year to this year in the child care and also mental health facilities of about 150,000. And then one thing that is actually up this year compared to last year is one in the mental health facilities, and this is actually more in the children areas, up by 100,000. Any questions on that document? If not, I'll go to the next document, which is the summary cash flow. Summary cash flow started at 16.5. Actual revenues were 5.4. Actual expenses were 11.4. Ending cash is 10.5. Same variances from the previous document. Any questions on this document? If not, I'll go to the next document, which is the summary budget. In March, we're 25% of the way through expenses. There are two, well, there's a couple that, but I kind of exclude highway because they have, their revenues expenses are kind of unique. They kind of come and go throughout the year, but they are kind of close in that area to the expenses to net to zero. General fund is at 28%. Human services, like I had just talked, that was a little bit higher, is at 28%. We're just tracking those, watching everything at this point. And then the other thing that I want to mention is interest. At this point, we're budgeting 290,000. We received 67,000, so we're at 23%. Any questions on this document? If not, thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Not a question on the document itself, but I think we all realize we're going into the budgeting process with a whole new world in front of us, not knowing what revenues are going to be, but yet we have a lot of fixed expenses. So again, we don't know. And even if all this money comes from the federal government, it's still government money. And I think we still really need to be very cautious as to what we do going forward for, the short and probably the long time. Anybody else have any gut feeling about budgeting?
If you would, I can at least say a few things. Commissioner Ward's correct that we have a lot of fixed cost, and so that's one thing that does drive the budget annually. I think the issue right now isn't so much expenses. because the COVID related expenses are there, but they're not, the out of pocket's not as high as you would think. The one thing we are doing though is diverting a lot of time from what we would have been doing to the COVID crisis. And that's one of the areas we'll hopefully get reimbursed for. Going forward, the big impacts are going to be on things like sales tax, and some other kind of the revenues that tie into health and human services. We may see an uptick in out-of-home placements once the people get back into the houses and start working with the families again, and follow up on some of those things that a little more, as the economy doesn't perform, that tends to go up a little bit. So we could see extra, and those would be farther down the road, maybe toward the later part of this year. So I think really going forward, it's going to be difficult to predict. Sales tax is something that, is only tied to road projects. So that one, even if we don't get the money, road projects would be deferred. So that's a fairly compact and simple equation. But things like trying to figure out how much out-of-home placement we're going to have, what kind of impact other revenue sources might have, or on other revenue sources, it's going to be very difficult. That we can certainly try to hold the line on positions and anything added to the budget, that makes sense, of course, and we try to do that all the time. It's just going to be very uncertain, and it's going to be an interesting ride. The other thing is that because we have to do the preliminary levy so early, that'll take some deciding on the board on how they want to approach that, in order to give some wiggle room, or whether they want to, balance that with the fact that people are going to be hurting, and we don't want to add to that burden. So it's going to be a complicated set of discussions because there's so many assumptions. You can't just do kind of business as usual.
And this is Karen Sanis. I just wanted to add to that, that revenues are down for some of my programs, just because during COVID, a lot of our programs are based on face-to-face contacts. And it took several weeks to be able to get some of those waivers in place. And individuals were not willing to meet with us face-to-face at that point, and because they lived in facilities and things like that. So those revenues are significantly down for April. So there's a big chunk of money there. And then also the 710-4830, which is our Rule 5 facilities, there was some issues with back billing back at the end of 2018. So a lot of that money that is being expended out of that general ledger is back bills from 2019. So it's like $100,000 in there, and about $60,000 of that was from last year. So
Karen, that's related to the fact that they didn't get licensed when they were supposed to. The state didn't notify us, didn't do the process. Is that correct?
No, that is not the background study. This was some billing issues with the Rule 5 and the state in not having a appropriate process set up. So
okay, so we still have the hit that we'll take for it'd be what, Title 4E, right?
The Title 4E funding for background studies.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to fight to get that in this legislative session to try and force the state to pay us, because we can't recapture 4E dollars in a lot of our facilities that are licensed by the state, because the state didn't meet the background check requirements in time. So the federal government won't reimburse Minnesota for any 4E funding.
Yeah, and that's a revenue line item where I think last year we had something in the neighborhood of $450,000 collected. We had really done a great job on collecting that 4E money as opposed to the past. We made a concerted effort to get that collected as much as we possibly could, and then we got the rug taken out from underneath us by this problem at DHS. So that's going to be in the budget. There's a lot of these little things that are buried in the HHS budget that deal with things like Karen mentioned, and so it makes it very difficult. But I think the impact is going to be we're going to see less revenue in HHS this year.
Ms. Sanis, I also heard at the CJCC meeting the other day that you requested that the court start scheduling adoptions, and maybe you could share a little bit about that. I was glad that you brought it up.
Yes, at the CJCC meeting, I brought up the other day that they have stopped, due to COVID, they had stopped scheduling any adoption hearings. which means that children that are ready for adoption are going to sit in foster care longer because they haven't reached their permanency. So I've been pushing and pushing and pushing to be able to try and get some of these adoptions done, because a lot of other counties are doing them through Zoom meetings and things like that. And so I had actually met with my friend Sue Bublitz from Houston County, and Houston County has been doing theirs through Zoom for several weeks. So I brought it up at the CJCC meeting the other day, and so within the next couple of weeks, I had our adoption worker get every child that's ready for adoption to me and their case file, and sent those to Carrie Espinoza and Rebecca Church, and they will be moving forward with those adoptions in the next week or two here. So it'll be good to get those adoptions done and actually not having to pay foster care for those kids. So it's a win-win.
Great, that's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else on budgets, monies? Okay, moving on then. Committee reports. Let's see, Commissioner Kavetsky, you had an announcement.
Yeah, I was just going to say that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and in organizing this, the Hiawatha Valley Mental Health has 3 seminars. You can go to the Facebook page and sign up tonight at 6 o'clock. The title is Just Keep Swimming, Resiliency for Parents. And there's also one tomorrow and one on Thursday. One is on resiliency for teenagers, and one is for how to get through this kind of for the rest of us. I don't have their clever titles, but if they're as good as the Just Keep Swimming one, they have good titles. But those are the topics, and you need to go to the HVMHC Facebook page and sign up. It's just going to be one of these, online sessions. So that's all I had. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate the extra work personnel has gone to, and Human Services. And I know we have a Human Services meeting this afternoon. So it's good to really dig into those. And Karen, you had an excellent update earlier. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank
Commissioner,
you.
I'm sorry, Chair Ward, I have an update.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I got a response. I got a response from the Winona Health on your question about who's paying for it. So if you get your test and you have insurance, the insurance is paying for it, no copay. If you're an individual with no insurance, then you could get the test, but you'll still be billed through the normal billing process. And then Winona Health is picking up the cost of the test for all the congregate living facilities.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, going to Commissioner Meyer.
Yep.
You had an action item and an announcement.
Yeah, because of that excellent update, I don't think I have an action item. I do 3 brief updates. I do want to commend, in addition to Ms. Sanis, I want to commend Ben Klinger for the emergency management work. He provides sanitizer, he has backups of personal protective equipment, and he's been doing a great job of coordinating things. Including, I heard at the meeting last week about some of the issues with our farmers, especially the hog farmers in the county who are having to euthanize. I heard he said 11,000 piglets, but then he said there was going to be another 12,000 hogs. And he was working on finding compost material and organizing a site. But I think it's just a tragedy, and my heart goes out to those farmers and the issues that have been going on with their livestock. And the last thing I wanted to say is I went to the SEMCAC meeting last night. There have been a lot of extra grants made available at the federal and the state level, and they're doing a great job of getting extra money to fund the food shelves across the region, but especially the ones in Winona County. So I'm glad that SEMCAC is here, and I'm grateful for the work they're doing.
Good, good. Thank you very much. Did anybody else have anything? All right. Well, I guess I would just like to reiterate, right, all the contacts I have around, our county is doing a great job. The emergency management, the public health, the human service people are really have stepped up, and we do greatly appreciate that. We are in good hands. Anything else to come before the board at this time?
Oh, can I share one more really great update? Sorry, this is Karen again.
Sure.
Our wonderful personnel department notified me last week that we will have a public nurse supervisor starting on June 15th. Melanie Teege is her name. She is coming from, and it's another tongue twister, Potawatomi County, and she's working as a public health tribal supervisor there. She has a master's degree in public health. She's just a delightful person. She's going to be a great addition to our leadership team. We had really great applicants. We could have given an offer probably to 4 or 5 individuals, but she just really rose to the top and is going to be a great fit for that unit and for our leadership team. So I am so excited for her to start. So thank you.
Can you tell us the name again?
Melanie, and her last name is Tatge.
Okay, we'll learn how to pronounce that. We'll have a phonics lesson. Okay, that's good news. Very good.
It is.
All right, awesome. Any other business to come before the Winona County Board? And I did ask Mr. Fritz, before we started this, I hope this is our last non-contact meeting. And I apologize, I don't know what happened to technology here this morning, but it says Microsoft Outlook cannot open the window. And I don't know, it opened it last night when I was working with this, but it won't open now. So I must have pushed some button differently.
Marcia, Commissioner Ward, you've done a fabulous job in spite of the difficulties. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Commissioner Olson.
Second, Jacob.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Olson, a second by Commissioner Jacob to adjourn. I don't think we need a roll call on this one. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Nay?
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the sunshine. It's going to get warmer. We need
Yes.